Hello guys, welcome to IC Shades and welcome to the third lecture on how to make a 2D arena game. In this one we will make a script, we will add it to the player, and we will talk a little bit about some default things that Unity gives us in that script. Let's go! We are in our project, and if you remember, we said we will write our code in Microsoft Visual Studio. So now we will check if Microsoft Visual Studio is paired with Unity. Click on Edit, top left, then Preferences, then External Tools, and here External Script Editor, Visual Studio 2019. If you don't have it like this, click on it, choose it or browse it, and if you can't find it, then maybe you will have to reinstall it. Close this one. In Assets, we have two folders, PNG, which we created, and Scenes default by Unity. We will create another folder, so right click, Create Folder. We will name it Scripts. Double click it to open it, and now we will create our script. Right click, Create, this time C# script, and don't click on anything, just write the name of your script. I will name it Player, not Platter, Player. Okay, our script is created, and now we have to add it to our game object, to our actual player. So we have here our player in the hierarchy, click on it, the information in the inspector, and now just drag the script in the inspector, and the script is now attached to our player. Double click the script and it will open in Microsoft Visual Studio. This is the default script that Unity gives us, and if you want the dark theme, click on Tools, Options, General, Color Theme Dark. I will press Ctrl and move a little closer. We have a lot of information here, and we will talk about every line. We have the first three lines using System Collections, using System Collections Generic, using Unity Engine. These three are called namespaces. And think of a namespace like a library which stores a lot of information. If you can see, using Unity Engine is highlighted, is a little wider than the other two, because in this particular moment, Unity Engine, it is used. So if we were to delete it like this, we will see a curved red line under mono behavior. A curved red line means that there is an error, and we can read about the error in the bottom section. And of course, this error means that we don't have the namespace for the information for mono behavior. So the information for mono behavior came from the namespace Unity Engine. And to fix it, we can write back using Unity Engine, or we can write here Unity Engine dot mono behavior. So the information for mono behavior came from Unity Engine. So writing it in the top section like it was before using Unity Engine, it is recommended, because if you do that, you won't have to write each time Unity Engine dot, but it is not required because you can write Unity Engine dot each time. I will now delete it from here and put the namespace back here using Unity Engine, semicolon. Semicolon tells Unity that the line is done. So those are the namespaces. Moving forward, now we have public class player mono behavior. So when we created our script, I told you not to click on anything before you named it, because when you name your script, you also name and you create a class. And you can't rename the class from Unity. You can rename it from here. So public means that we can access this class from other script. Class is the class, player is the name, and mono behavior gives our class, mono behavior is a base class that gives our class some elements. And of course, mono behavior comes from Unity Engine. And we can do the same thing. We will delete mono behavior. Actually, if you go with the cursor on start, you will see start is called just before any of the update method is called the first time. If we delete mono behavior and then go to start, we won't see that information because this is a method. Start is a method. The method start the information for the method start comes from monoBehavior. We can't write, as we did with Unity Engine, monoBehavior.start. So we will have to write it here, monoBehavior. Okay, so that is the class. In a class, we can have variables. Actually, they are called fields in Unity. So the variables are like boxes in which we store information and we can manipulate it. Let's take an example. Int hit points equals 10. So we have the type of our variable, that is int, that is an integer number, and that will tell us what we can store in that variable. The name of the variable hit points and the information that we stored in it, that is 10. So in an integer variable, we can store numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 without decimals. Another type of variable is float. Let's say damage equals 2.5 f. So a variable of type float also stores numbers, but this time you can store numbers with decimals, 2.5, 10.6, and very important, after you write the value, you must write f after it. Another one is bool. Let's say player alive equals true. So this type of variable stores a value true or false. Let's say we start the game, the player is alive, this variable is true, and then the player dies. This player will become false, and let's say if the player alive variable is false, start an animation, a death animation, or something like that. And the last one will be string player name equals Bob. So a string type stores text. So we must write the text in quotation marks, like you see Bob. And let's say we have the player named Bob, and what should we do with it? Let's say if the player gets a power up or something, it will change from Bob to Bob the Great, let's say. Now I have a small challenge for you. Pause the video and declare 4 variables, one int, one float, one bool, and one string. Give them whatever name and whatever value you want, just to get your hands in the game. I hope you've done the challenge. I will do it as well. Let's say int lives equals 4. Next, float damage with gun, let's say 10.5 f. Bool all enemies dead equals false, and a string enemy name equals quotation marks Alex. Before we move forward, if we write the variable like this, then it will be a private one by default. The same as if we would write private right here. So what does this mean? This means that our variable is not accessible in other scripts. If we want to make it accessible, change private to public, like the class. And now the variable is public, accessible in other scripts, and also visible in our inspector. Now we have to save our progress. If you see here, player.cs has a little asterisk that says we haven't saved our progress. Control S. Now go into Unity. Come on. And in the player script in the inspector, you can see the hit points. If you go back into the script and delete public, save in Unity, after it saves, you won't see the hit points. If you want to see it in the inspector and not be accessible in other scripts, you must write serialize field in brackets like this. Save, and now in Unity you can see the hit points. Back into the script. Besides variables, in classes, we can also have methods. Before we talk about that, I want to talk about this line, line 17. Everything we write after 2 slashes in a line is ignored by Unity. So everything here will be like a note. A method can perform operations and also can return variables. If you don't want the method to return variable, then you must write before the name of the method, you must write void, as you can see in the 2 default methods that Unity gives us, void start, void update. So this method will be called when you start your game. All the operations in it will be called when you start your game, and this method update will be called once per frame. So again, every operations in it will be called once per frame. Let's take an example with a return type. So when we want to write a return method, then we will start by writing the type of variable we want it to return. Let's say float. Let's name it increase damage. Open and close parentheses. After every method we must write open and close parentheses. We can write things in there, but we will get to that later. Open and close curly brackets, and let's say damage equals damage plus 1 semicolon, and then return damage. So we will call this method, because this is a method that we created, it is not called anywhere, unlike start or update, because start or update are from monobehavior and they are called by starting the game or once every frame. This our method won't be called. So if we call it from somewhere, then the damage will increase by 1 and it will return where we call it the damage. Another challenge for you: pause the video and try to make a method in which we increase the lives by 1 and return that value. If you've done the challenge, very good job, and we will do it together. If not, we will write int, because we want to return an int, an integer number. Increase lives, let's say, open close parentheses, open close curly brackets, lives equal lives plus 1 semicolon, return lives. And that's it. I think we have gone through every default thing that Unity gives us in a script, but I want to clarify one thing. When we declare a variable, or when we create a method, hit points being the variable, increased damage being the method, we can write anything we want. But after we declare the variable, or after we created the method, when we want to make operations with the variable, or when we want to call the method, then we must be careful and write exactly as we've done the first time. So for an example, float damage here will be exactly damage. Okay, good. And we have the questions. If we want to store 4.3 in a variable, what type of variable should we use? Int, float, bool, or string? A couple of seconds. And if you have chosen float, then you are correct. Int is for integer numbers, float is for decimal numbers, bool is for a value true or false, and string is for text. Next one. What do we write before a method in order for that method to not be a return type? Null, int, void, or float? A couple of seconds again. And if you have chosen void, then you are correct. Before a method, if we want that method to not be a return, we will write void. If you got both questions, good job. If not, revisit the course. That's it for this one. I hope you've enjoyed it and I hope you learned a lot. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comment section below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share the channel if you really enjoyed it. And until next time, stay frosty and extra spicy.